Oh no, an angry midget hates me. I'm so sad now. The ghoul that was standing in the doorway looked at me, his head tilted to one side. Honestly, for a ghoul, he didn't look or sound half bad, unlike most of the other ghouls I'd seen so far. Most of his brown coat was still visible. It hadn't been burnt away from the radiation. His eyes didn't have the look that the ghouls had. They were milky and dead-looking. He had lost his mane, but I could still see the brown flecks of it on his head and tail. His cutie mark had been burned away. That was one part of his hide that looked more like I had expected a ghoul would look like. His voice didn't even remind me of a ghoul. He only had a slight rasp with a nasally high pitch to it. The odd thing was that he had a big black mustache on his face. It looked kind of fake. "Who are you?" he asked. I'm Shadowstar? I've also been called the Courier Mare by DJ Pony and Mr. New Pegasus. Boring. What does that matter? Big deal. You're a pony that ponies on the radio talk about. So what? He said, looking at Laserlight. You do realize you're nude right now, right? Every pony can see your wings now. Laserlight looked at her wings and blushed out of embarrassment. Shit. Well, I was drunk last night and wasn't thinking clearly. No shit. You really want to risk the Enclave finding out you're alive? From what I remember, you said that would be really bad. Oh, you worry too much. I doubt any pony up there even remembers who I am anymore. She said, getting her hooves. Walking over to her clothes, she tossed in one corner, slipping around on the back on, hiding her wings again. Plus, I don't think these two are going to say anything. Excuse me, but what's going on here? Are you really Nexus? He looked at me. I noticed Silver was watching everything going on. Yes, I am. Who told you my name? Wow, he's a serious pony. Some pony calling himself Watcher? He said I should find you and see if you could help me to unlock some hidden files on my Pip-Buck? The ghoul snorted and shook his head. Watcher? There's someone I don't hear from every day. Well, if he sent you here to find me, then fuck off. I don't do things for just any pony. I'm a busy stallion and don't have time to mess around with Pip-Bucks. Laserlight walked over to the ghoul and moved her face very close to his. Hey, Button? That's not my name anymore. You know that, Laserlight. The ghoul said, trying to back away from her intense gaze. Why are you so close to me? You remember what I said if I do get caught wearing that stupid thing again? Back off. I can wear whatever I want. I'm Nexus. She moved her muzzle up to his mustache, and with a quick pull, she ripped it right off. There you go. Much better. The ghoul, who only just a moment ago had been acting all cool and collected, dropped to his belly and started to yell. Mom! Why'd you have to do that? I can't be the mysterious Nexus without it! Talk about a personality change. Laserlight just laughed and tossed the lip hair away. Don't call me Mom. I told you that I hate that. Now be a good ghoul and talk to this nice young mare about her Pip-Buck. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. I can't. I still have so much to do. I still haven't gotten past level 32 on Zap Apple Chronicles. And now you took my mustache. How can I ever be cool again? He whined. Oh, grow up and get over it. You're over 200 years old. Stop acting like a child. She looked at Silver and I had fun last night, you two. If Button gives you too much trouble, just come and find me and I'll set him straight. I watched as he left the room, ignoring the ghoul. When she was gone, Nexus, Button, got back to his hooves and looked at both of us. Now that she's gone, what are we talking about again? Silver laughed a little. So, your name is Nexus? Or Button? I'm getting a little lost here. He slumped with a sigh. My real name's Button Mash.
Formerly one of the top technical engineers for Stable Tech. Ever since I, well, died and became a ghoul, I started going by the name Nexus.
Why? I had to ask.
Because codenames are cool! Codenames are cool!
You say so? I don't see what's wrong with your real name, though, I said, finally slipping off the bed.
Let's just say that I had a pony out looking for me right after the bombs fell. Nexus made it easier to hide from him.
Oh, so that's like a sort of disguise, then? Silver asked.
In a way, yeah. Anyway, you said the Watcher had sent you to find me. Guess I should see what all the fuss is about. He doesn't just send any pony my way unless he can't figure something out himself,
Nexus said. How do you know Watcher? You know what he really is?
Of course I do, but I'm not telling you. He likes his secrets, and I'm not one to go around telling ponies who he is. As far as I know him, that's simple. He's been around the wasteland as long as I have. You tend to run into people when so much time goes by. Now, didn't you say something about having a pip-buck for me to look at?
Oh, right. I lifted my foreleg, showing him the Mark II. My mother left it for me back at my stable. I guess there were hidden files on it. Watcher said you might be able to help me get to them. Nexus was looking at my foreleg in awe. He reached a hoof out and ran over the screen slowly.
Are you from Stable 9?
No, I'm from Stable 28. I don't know how my mom got a hold of this, but I did find out where it was from. I was kind of the one who blew up Stable 9.
You did what?
He asked.
What did they ever do to you?
The stable was filled with blood wings. And a crazed scientist. He took a minute to think about what I said and shrugged.
I heard the ponies from Stable 9 left a few years ago and found Trotston. I never really found out what happened to the stable itself. I figured whoever was left just kept doing whatever they were doing.
Do you pay attention to anything going on in the wasteland? I asked.
Nah, I prefer to stick to my work and games. Tech is my life, and I'd like to keep it that way. Sure, I help out with some settlements now and then, but most of the time that's because Laser makes me. So you have no idea how your mom got a hold of that?
She never told me about it, and so far I haven't found anything out on how she obtained it.
Maybe there'll be something in there we can use. Let's head to my room and we'll see what we can find. Besides, I don't feel like talking for the next hour trying to figure out how you got Sweetie Belle's pip-buck,
he said, turning to leave the room. Silver smiled at me. Go with him. I still need to finish the project I'm working on. What project is that? I'm not telling you. It's a surprise. Now go, she said, shooing me out of the room. Okay, I'll be back later, I said, kissing her quickly before turning to follow the ghoul. But my mind caught on what she said. Wait a sec. This used to belong to Sweetie Belle? Like, the Sweetie Belle? He looked back at me as we walked down the hall.
Of course it did. Each one of the founders of Stable Tech had one. I wouldn't call Sweetie Belle a founder. Not really. But she was the face of the company for a long time. She was best friends with Scootaloo and Applebloom.
I looked down at the silver pip-buck, a little amazed at what was now on my forehoof. How did it end up in Stable 9 then?
When Applebloom first came up with the idea to make the Mark II, she wanted to make a pip-buck that had some more features to offer than the original 3000. She decided to make 3 to test out new features. Later she used her ideas she came up with for the Delta model, which sadly never made it into production, on account that everything got blown up.
So Stable Tech only made 3 of them?
Yep, only 3. Right before the war ended, Sweetie Belle came up with this crazy idea to give them to the heads of the 3 departments of Stable 9. She wouldn't tell any pony why she wanted to do that, but in the end she convinced Applebloom to do it.
He moved down the main stairway and down another hall as he spoke. And then, tell me, why would Applebloom make a pip-buck you can't get off? He laughed.
Think about it this way. Stable Tech is one of the few companies that wasn't under any ministry control. There were a lot of ponies trying to get their hooves on the ideas that Stable Tech was working on. When she made the Mark II, she wanted to make sure no pony could just get their hooves on the projects that Stapletech was working on. What better way to keep all the important stuff on the pit bucks of the ponies who ran the company?
Still, seems stupid to make it impossible to get off.
It's not impossible. You just have to know how to do it. Apart from death, the only way to get a Mark II off is by knowing the password that's on the pit buck for removal. Also, you have to be the pony who's wearing it to get it to unlock, and you need a pit buck master key. It's the only way to get one apart from death. Stable 9 had a manual that explained all this, but it was only the overmare who was supposed to know that knowledge.
He said, finally reaching a set of double doors. He pulled out a key and unlocked it, then pushed one open. I walked in and found myself in another world. The room was filled with monitors, terminals, robot parts, cables, a lot of other things that made no sense to me. I looked around with my jaw open just a little bit. This is your room?
Sure is. This is where I spend most of my time. Isn't it awesome?
He said happily, walking over to a chair and sitting down.
Sit over here so I can look at that thing.
I went over and sat down in the chair next to his. I lifted the pit buck and showed it to him. How do you know so much about this?
I was good friends with Sweetie Belle. When Stapletech first started, she helped me get a job there. It didn't take long for my skills to get recognized by Apple Bloom, and I started helping her with a lot of the projects she was working on.
He said, pulling the cord from my pit buck and hooking it into a port that went to the 3 different terminals.
I help with all the things that went into the Mark II. I'm sure that's why Washer sent you to find me.
Every pony that I meet knows anything about them, keeps telling me that they're special. But I don't know why. What's the big deal with the Mark II over the normal 3000?
I mean, come on, throw me a bone or something here.
Sick of not knowing why ponies want my pit buck. He started to type things on the keyboard as he spoke.
Well, one thing is that the Mark II is almost like a master key for terminals. Not sure if you noticed this or not, but the hacking software in there is state-of-the-art. You should be able to crack almost any program it comes in contact with. Another thing is, if you use the Mark II to lock down a program, only another Mark II can unlock it. Then you can make it so that not only that Mark II can unlock the program.
So, if a pony uses this pit buck to seal a stable, and another pony had another Mark II was inside, you could keep them from unsealing it?
Yeah, I guess you could do that,
he said, still typing. That would explain why I was able to get into Stable 9 using my pit buck, and Dr. Cell couldn't get out. Survivors must have used my pit buck to seal it. What else can they do?
Unlike the 3000 models, the Mark II has a built-in broadcaster. That technology just came out right after the 3000 was put in production. There was an attachment you could get for it to add a broadcaster, but it was never as strong as the built-in one for the Mark II and the Delta have. They also have an expanded memory, better radio range, and can encrypt radio signals. One of my favorite features is the fact that you can hide data in one and set it up like a new pit buck. Much like this one, as I'm sure you've realized.
I was wondering about that. I didn't know you could set a pit buck up to hide things in it, and still set it up for a new user.
Technically, you could do that with any pit buck if you knew what you were doing. The Mark II just made it a lot easier. It came in handy with the Ministry of Morale started snooping around Stapletech.
He hit one more key, then looked at the monitors for a long time.
Who set this up like this? I don't think any pony but a Stapletech technician like myself could set up software like this.
He looked at his screen, but the jumble of words didn't make any sense to me, so I asked, "What's wrong?" He sighed.
The pony who set up the protection on this pit buck may know almost as much as I do, or maybe even more about Mark II. Whoever did this was able to set up layers of protection and hide away all the files they're still in memory. The first layer was easy. Watch was able to undo it with only a sprite bot. The second layer requires more technical ingenuity to get past.
Technical... what now? He gave me a flat look.
You can't be that dull.
Never said I was a smart pony. He rolled his eyes.
Even a child could have figured that one out without help. What I don't understand is why so much protection was put onto this pit buck.
Couldn't answer that one. Also, why did it fry the spite bot that Watcher was using when he tried to unlock it?
The protection software is tough, and a simple sprite bot wouldn't be able to break through that much firewalls. Even a skilled hacker like Watcher would have a hard time with it, even if he had the pit buck in the room with him.
What about you? He smiled.
I haven't met a program that I couldn't crack. I'll admit that this is going to be a hard one, and I give the pony who set it up a lot of credit for such fine work. Still, it's not good enough to keep me out, though I might lose a couple terminals while I try to crack it.
How long will it take? I asked, looking down at the program.
I'm not sure. How this program is set up, it could take a few minutes or a couple hours. If I knew the pony who did this, it would be a lot of help because I could use their tricks and be able to figure out a way around them. Since I don't know, I'll have to take each step carefully to make sure I don't fry my terminal or the pip buck,
he said, giving quick types to the keyboard. Great. I love waiting, I said sarcastically. He rolled his eyes.
Go into a memory orb then. It'll be better that way. It'll keep you from distracting me while I work.
Thought about the memory orbs Mom gave me. I wasn't ready to watch those yet. Besides, Mom said I had to listen to her recording before I did that. I'm not sure the ones I have will work. He reached up into the shelves and pulled out a gray memory orb, then rolled it over to me.
This one will suffice.
I looked at the shimmering memory orb. What's on it?
Something important, like most memory orbs. Watch it.
Nothing dirty in there, is there? I asked, the memory of Sweet Lily's orb still fresh in my mind.
No. Now shut up and go into the orb. I want to get started.
Deciding that it couldn't hurt, I concentrated on the orb, and the world melted away. When the world came back into focus, I saw I was once again in Canterlot. The sun was starting to rise in the distance, and it looked like it was going to be a beautiful day. Again, I was in the body of a Pegasus stallion, standing on a cliff overlooking the city. Next to my host stood a mare I'd only heard about. Rainbow Dash was also looking at the capital of Equestria. She looked a little older than she did in the posters I'd seen of her scattered across the wasteland, but she was still a good-looking mare.
So, how are you liking your promotion, Night Stalker?
She asked my host. Ah, great. This was another memory of that mysterious Pegasus. My host chuckled. Like wouldn't be the word I'd use, but I'm getting used to it.
You've had months to get used to leading the children by now. I thought you'd love the chance to command your own team.
I didn't join the military to become a leader. I wanted to protect my home. You should know that more than anyone. You were the one to push me to join so many years ago. She laughed and hit him in the foreleg.
Yeah, and look how good you got. Remember when you first entered training at the academy? I thought you were gonna wet yourself. He probably would have. I wouldn't have made it if it went through training if I hadn't been there,
a griffin said, landing next to them. He looked over at her. She reminded me a lot of Aura in a way. Their beaks were similar at least. Same for the eyes. This griffin had brown fur, white feathers on her head mixed with light green markings around her eyes, and a little more on her chest and on the ends of her head feathers, much like Aura's red tips. Her wings were a darker reddish brown than her body was, and her talons were a yellow, matching her beak. She also wore a scarf that was clasped together with a crescent moon. She had a dark combat armor on and 2 blades clasped to her back. Greta, I didn't expect you back so soon. How did your meeting go in Griffinstone? Night Stalker asked.
Not as well as we'd have hoped. Griffinstone is sticking to its code by making contracts with Equestria. They want no part in the war unless they're getting paid for it,
she said, fluttering her wings a little before letting them settle to their side.
Shit. I thought Gilda would have at least listened to reason if you talked with her,
Rainbow Dash said with a sigh. You two aren't as close as you used to be, Rainbow. She's part of the Griffin Council now, and you're a Ministry Mayor. Greta doesn't have much standing within the Council. It was a long shot that they'd ally with us, Night Stalker said.
Yeah, I know. But I was hoping that a message from me being delivered by another Griffin would help at the very least,
she said.
I've got more bad news, Captain,
Greta said, I've been exiled from Griffinstone for good. They said they don't want a griffin like myself hanging around, polluting the minds of their griffins with the love of pony kind. Their words, not mine. Night Stalker stomped. Damn it. They really said that.
Afraid so. And they're serious with this new code. Any griffin that doesn't want to live by this contract is seen as not being a griffin, and they aren't welcome in Griffinstone,
she said with a heavy sigh. Should have gone with you, Greta. I grew up there, just like you did. They may have listened if I was with you, Night Stalker said.
No, they wouldn't. You're part of the Ministry of Awesome. They don't see you the same as they used to. You don't even go by the same name anymore. They don't know who Night Stalker even is. You're not the same Colt who first came to town all alone and in need of help,
Greta said. My host sighed and shook his head. Maybe true, but I was hoping we could have gotten them to help more than they are. At least they didn't say they wouldn't contract with Equestria anymore after this. I'm sorry that you got banished from your hometown. She shrugged.
I left there a long time ago. Equestria is my home now. Besides, I'd rather be by your side than living this new code they got by now. Call me old school, but I'm loyal to my friends. Especially ones I've known since I was little.
Rainbow Dash laughed a little.
At least we have you, Greta. I don't know how to put you up to this broody ass. He grows on you,
he replied. Anyway, Night Stalker said, interrupting their teasing. Didn't you have a new mission for us? Rainbow Dash stopped her laugh.
Yeah. We got intel that the zebras are setting up troops near Las Pegasus. We don't know how they got so many this far into the country, but they've been spotted near Crimson Canyon. We think they're holding up there, using the caves to hide their numbers. I need your teams to go there and see what's going on. I've also heard that one of the Caesar's legates is leading the new garrison of troops. If he is, he needs to be taken out.
Doesn't sound like a job for my team. How many stripes are we talking about?
I've only heard a couple dozen or so. But if they're being led by the legate I hear about, they could be dangerous. I only trust your team with this one, Night Stalker. It needs to be done quickly and quietly. You have enough ponies yet to take on a task like this?
She asked. A smile came to my host's lips. My old friend Lightning Dust just joined up the other day. With her, Greta, and the rest of the team, we'll be just fine.
Oh, you did get Lightning Dust to join. I'm glad to hear that. She's a good soldier and quite a flyer.
Rainbow Dash said with a smirk.
I'll make sure the details are sent to you. I need you to leave tomorrow. Go get your team ready.
Yes, ma'am, Night Stalker said with a salute.
Rainbow Dash laughed. I hate it when you do that, Night Stalker. Now get out of here.
The rainbow-maned mare flew away in a flash. Night Stalker watched her go, and then looked at Greta, who was just standing there picking at her talons. Now that she's gone, what else did you learn in Griffinstone?
I was able to meet up with some of my old contacts, and it turns out that those rumors are true. The Stripes are planning an attack on Hoofington. I didn't get any details on when the attack will take place, but they did recruit a powerful dragon to fight for them.
It'll be the first time they've gone after Hoofington. Something about that city seems to draw the zebras to it. Like they've been trying to take it down even before the war got as bad as it is.
I agree. This worries me even more than the zebras hiding out near New Pegasus.
They've used dragons in battle before. What makes this one different than before?
If the intel's correct, this one's ancient. Usually the older the dragon, the more powerful it is. We've never seen such an old and powerful dragon participate in battle before,
Greta said. You've got a point. The Stripes must have paid him a lot to get them to fight for them. Old dragons don't like to get into conflicts like this unless there's something to be gained. I'll have to make sure Luna knows about this, Night Stalker said.
Why not just talk to Goldenblood? He has a lot of contacts in that area. He'd be better than bothering the princess with this.
My host frowned. No way. You know how I feel about that snake. If I go to Goldenblood, He'll figure out some way to fuck me over, like I'm one of his pawns.
He may be a snake, but he's useful when it comes to this kind of thing. You know that.
My host sighed. Yeah, I know. But still, Luna will want to know. She has her own ties to Hoofington, and she'll be pissed if she wasn't notified about this.
Whatever you say, boss. Should we go now?
No. I have things to do before we leave for Las Pegasus. I'll be sure to talk to her tonight, before we head out. He turned, and I saw now that they were on the same overhang that overlooked the city, right where the entrance to the Children of the Night base was located. Right behind him was a set of power armor, the same one I'd seen him wearing when he had been talking to Falafel. He went over to it and pressed a talisman into the back. It opened up, and he stepped in. A moment later, the armor covered his form, his wings locking in with sharp blades on the edges. He reached back and pulled the helmet off his hip and placed it on his head. I'll admit that for body armor that covered most of his body, it wasn't that bad. It fit him nicely, and even the rebreather built into the helmet was barely noticeable. He swung his tail back and forth, checking that the stinger on the end of the tail was set right. He looked at the griffin again. Let's head toward the Everfree.
Why are we going there?
He asked.
And do you really have to wear that power armor everywhere you go?
My host chuckled. I'm the captain. I have to look the part. Plus, you never know what you'll run into in the forest. I'd like to be ready. We'll be heading to the Castle of the Two Sisters. Petal is overseeing the construction of Stable 101, and I need to speak with her before we head out.
I haven't seen Prickly Petal in a long time. But do we really have time for this?
She asked. I always have time for my sister. Just like I always have time for you, my friend. My host said with a laugh. She smirked, then shook her head.
You say that now, until Luna calls you away in the middle of the night. Then we'll see who you have time for.
My host flapped his wings and took to the air. Even then, I'll always make time for you two. Greta followed as my host banked and headed towards the large forest that bumped up against the mountain that Canterlot was built on. As they flew down and over the large trees, Greta came close and asked,
You ever miss the old days, Night Stalker?
Depends upon which old days you're referring to.
You know what I mean. Back before the war, when we still lived in Griffinstone.
My host took a few moments to respond. His voice was distant as he was lost in an old memory. Some days I wish I never left. Back then, life was so much easier. At the same time, I'm glad I left. I was nothing back then.
Is that such a bad thing?
I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, I'm not big on being a leader, but I am good at it. I was perfectly happy with being a normal grunt. All I had to do was take orders and protect my country and the ponies I cared about. Now it's meetings, missions, and every once in a while, espionage. I have ponies calling me sir and or captain all the time. They look up to me, and most days it scares me. I feel like a fraud most of the time. One of her wings brushed against his.
What you are is a pony who's brave and cares about others. You have a fire deep inside you to do the right thing, no matter what anyone tells you. You were born to lead. You just needed the right ponies to show you that.
The right ponies and Griffin, you mean? He said with a chuckle. Wow, I didn't know Lightstalker could laugh so much. Something about Greta seemed to bring a better pony out of him. It sounded like they'd been friends since they were young. Wonder why a Pegasus was living in the land of the Griffins.
I don't like to brag, but all I did was push you in the right direction.
You followed me when I was brought back to Equestria.
Hey, I had to make sure you didn't chicken out. You remember what you were like back then? If somebody said boo, you jumped sky high. Hell, you couldn't even fly when I first met you.
He smirked. I could fly. I just didn't like to, was all. I got over that, and now I'm almost as fast as Rainbow Dash. She laughed again.
Fast, maybe. But you'll never be as good as she is.
If I keep training, I will be.
When you can do a sonic rain boom, then we'll talk,"
he said, brushing his wing again. My host looked towards the break in the trees. I could see cranes and ponies in the distance working on something enormous. Night Stalker tilted his wings and drove to the ground. "We're here. Let's see what my sister is up to." They both landed next to two stallions who were looking over paperwork on the clipboards. They both jumped as my host and Greta landed. "Damn! Scared the shit out of me, buddy," one said, looking over my host and his griffin companion. My host's voice grew serious as he spoke. "I'm Captain Night Stalker of the Equestrian Royal Guard and a representative of the Ministry of Awesome. I'm looking for Prickly Petal. Is she around?" The other Earth Pony Stallion spoke up. "Sorry, sir. This site is off limits to anyone who's not part of Stable Tech. If you want to speak to Miss Prickly Petal, you'll have to make an appointment with corporate." My host stared at the shorter pony. Well, I guess most ponies were shorter than Night Stalker. "Did I ask you if I needed an appointment or not?" "I don't believe I did. I believe I asked you if Prickly Petal is down here now. Don't test my patience." "She's in the middle of an inspection on a part of the stable, sir. She can't be bothered. I'm sorry, but you'll have to leave." Night Stalker removed his helmet and looked the pony right in the eye. "I have business with your boss. Tell her that her brother is out here and wishes to speak with her. If you don't, I'll go find her myself. Don't make me ask again. I hate redundancy." Greta laughed. "Yeah, he really hates asking more than once." "Griffins aren't allowed here," the first stallion said. "Get out." "She is enlisted in the guard as well. Don't pay her any mind. You're talking to me right now, not her." Night Stalker rounded on the other pony. "I think you're too stupid to realize that you're the personal guard of the princesses, and they shouldn't be telling you to do anything," Greta said with a laugh. "You're probably right," my host said, lifting one of his wings, letting the sharp blades that ran along the edge come into view of both stallions. "Hey, buddy. No need for that. I'm just doing my job. Stable Tech is a private company, and we don't answer to the government." Before anyone else could say anything or do anything, a soft voice echoed towards them. "No need for that, Mooney. I don't know why you think you have to threaten every pony who gives you a little lip." The green Pegasus mare, with lighter green freckles on her face and a long yellow mane, followed towards them. She had a pink flower on her flank that matched her eyes perfectly. He smiled as she approached. "Ah, there you are, Petal." She walked up to them and looked at the two stallions. "Why are you two just standing around like idiots? They need some help clearing out rocks for level 3. "Sorry, ma'am, these two just flew in here without permission," the first stallion said. "And you think it's your job to tell them to go away?" the mare asked, giving them both a stern look. "But this is Stable Tech project, and he's with the Ministry of Awesome." "He's also my brother. Family takes precedence to anything else. Or have you forgotten who Applebloom's sister is?" "No, ma'am," they both responded. "Good. Now pull your heads out of your asses and get back to work." They both ran off. My host walked over to the mare, giving her a hug. "I'm glad you showed up. I really didn't want to have to threaten them any more than I already did." She laughed. "I'm sure you're so worried about their well-being," she said, and looked over at Greta. She hugged her and said, "Greta, it's been ages since I last saw you. How have you been?" "As well could be expected with everything going on," she said with a smile. "I'm surprised you stopped by. What brings you two out here?" My host's face grew serious again. "We need to talk. Is there a place around here we can speak privately?" "Sure. I have a small hut set up for the supervisors while we're on site. We could talk there if you'd like," Prickly Petal said, gesturing to a small hut towards the end of the work zone. "That works, I guess," Night Stalker said as he and Grella followed her to the hut. When they entered, Night Stalker seemed to relax. He walked over to one of the chairs that were sitting in the corner and sat down. "Looks like the stable's coming along nicely." Prickly Petal sighed and sat next to him. On paper, yes. It's ahead of schedule, but we keep having problems the further in we dig. The forest is so wild, and it's presenting a problem for our crew. A few of them have even accidentally exposed themselves to poison joke. One of them was turned to stone by a cockatrice. I have some ponies looking for it, but if they don't find it, at least we'll have an interesting statue to decorate the stable with. Enough small talk. Why are you here? Damn, she knew how to get right to the point. Greta laughed a little from the other side of the room as Night Stalker spoke. I need a little help with something. She smiled. I figured it had something to do with me helping you with something. Some things never change. What's on your mind, Mooney? He chuckled. You know I hate it when you call me that. Well, I'm not calling you Night Stalker. That's a stupid name. She laughed. I told him the same thing for years, but he won't listen, Greta said, laughing along with her. It was so strange to see him enjoying himself. In the other memory orbs, he was so downtrodden, even with Big Mac. He did laugh, but forced. When he was alone with these two, he had a different pony altogether. Anyway, Night Stalker continued, I'm going to be gone for a while. While I'm gone, I want you to see how close you can get to the leaders of Stable Tech. I know that you have been getting close with Apple Bloom, but I need you to get close to all three of them. That won't be too hard. They're always together when one of them isn't busy. But what do you need me to do that? I need Stable Tech's help with something down the line. Having you around, befriending them, will help me with that. Right now, Stable Tech doesn't answer to any ministries, and I am to change that. At least a little. I need to get one of them in my pocket, so when I need them, they'll do whatever I ask. He frowned a little. That seems kinda low if you ask me. Why not just ask Apple Bloom or the other two for help? Think about it. If you were the president of Stable Tech, and for years the ministries have been trying to get you to work with them, always saying for the good of the country, what would you do when somebody like me came to you asking for help? He asked. I see your point, but I'm still not sure it's a good idea. You're asking me to put my job on the line, all for a secret you won't tell me. I would love to tell you, but it's better that you don't know, Petal. She frowned again. You in some kind of trouble, Mooney? He smiled sadly and looked away for a moment. If I was, I'd tell you. I just don't want you getting hurt. Bad enough that I'd ask you to do this for me, but you're my best way of getting Stable Tech on board. She sighed. Fine, but no promises. I'll try and see what I can do. I have a meeting later today with Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle. I'll see if one of them wants to grab lunch or something after. Thank you, sis. You're a big help. Just promise me that you'll be safe. I couldn't handle it if anything happened to you. He got up and walked over to her, pulling her into an embrace. He then kissed her on the top of her head. I'd never leave you alone, Petal. I'll always be here for you, just like you've always been there for me. And remember, he's got me to keep him safe. I'll keep an eye on him, Greta said. She laughed and pulled herself away. I miss this. Just the three of us sitting around talking. Me too. He reached back and put the helmet back on. We should get going. We have another pony to meet before we head out. Where are you going? She asked. Las Pegasus. I don't know how long. I'll be gone this time. I understand. Make sure you get me something nice while you're out there. A shot glass would be nice. Got it, he said as he and Greta walked out the door. Love you, Petal. She looked at him. Love you too, Mooney. When they got outside, the two of them took the air again. At first I thought the memory would end here, but it kept going. You doing okay, Night Stalker? Greta asked after the little bit of flying. Am I ever okay, Greta? Some days, he responded. What I mean is you're looking more down than usual. It's been a year now. A year? She asked. Since my life changed. He looked confused for a moment. Oh yeah. It's been a year since Big Mac died. I almost forgot. I'm surprised you're not on your way to visit his grave. You always seem to go every month around this time. I told myself that it wasn't worth it. The thing that's buried down there isn't my friend. Just a pile of bones in the ground. I told myself that I'd give it a year, then I'd stop going. I'd have to move on and start looking for his killer. I'm surprised you two got along so well. You were so different. He showed me how to be brave, how to fight, how to be a real stallion. For him to go down the way he did was just wrong. He had a special sun pony out there. Some pony that he loved so much he was going to leave the army and his team just for her. She sighed. The worst part of this war. Ponies like Big Mac have to pay the price for something so stupid. And his friends and loved ones are left behind, missing him. The two of them flew on in silence for a while. Finally, Greta asked, "Where are we going?" "To complete a mission." She looked over at him confused. "What mission? I thought we didn't have any more missions apart from the one in Las Pegasus." "We got this one the other day while you were still in Griffinstone," he said, then put a hoof to his helmet, clicked on a button. "Lightning, do you read me?" Lightning Dust's voice echoed in the earpiece built into his helmet. "Loud and clear, boss." "Good. Is everything ready?" "Thunder Lane and Cloudy Nights have reported in. The target's on site. Comet Tail and Phoenix Heart are both in place on each side of the compound. Babs is standing by. Amethyst Heart and Minute are both waiting for your orders." "Good. I'll be there in a minute. Have the team stand by until I give the order. I want this to be quick and clean." "Yes, sir. I'll just be over at the site waiting for you. Lightning Dust out." The radio went silent and Greta asked, "Are you sure having Lightning Dust join up was a good idea?" My host smiled. "She's the perfect one for the job. She's quick, quiet, and skilled, just like you. Give her a chance. I know she'll prove it to yourself." "Yeah, as long as she doesn't screw anything up. What I don't understand is why you didn't have me join on stealth missions. You didn't need another member for you after you finally talked me into joining." "I didn't. But I can't always have a griffin with me on some stealth jobs. I need a pony like her. Plus, if you were always going on stealth jobs with me, who would keep the others in line while I'm gone?" She laughed. "Point taken. I'm glad you joined up with us, Greta. It wouldn't be the same without you." "We've been through a lot the last 3 years, Night Stalker. Yeah, it might have taken you a while to talk me into becoming an actual member of the Children. But I've always been here by your side. Nothing will change that." "Glad to hear it. Now before we get there, let me update you. The target is a high-standing pony in the military. We have reason to believe that he's been leaking military secrets to the zebras." "A zebra sympathizer, eh? We've been seeing a lot of those lately." "We have, but none as high up in the military as this pony. Normally, this would be something set aside for MOM, but Luna wants him taken care of silently. We have to take care of this before Morale finds out about his dealings. Once they have him, everything will be too public for us to do anything." "I thought Image took care of that kind of thing." "They do, but there's no guarantees. We can't let it get out that a high-ranking official is helping the Stripes." "Okay, then, what's my role?" "I need you for backup in case things go south. Keep to the clouds and keep an eye out for trouble. I've heard he might have contracted Griffin bodyguards." She rolled her eyes. "If he did, then I guess I'll have a chance to work out my frustrations." "Yeah, I thought you might like that," he said, then flapped harder and took to the clouds. Once he was higher up, Lightning came into view. She saw the two of them coming closer. "There you are, boss. What took so long? I thought you told us here to be an hour ago." "Had business with my sister. What's the situation?" Night Stalker asked. "He's been in his courtyard the whole time. Not sure what he's up to, but he's been doing something with his pip buck," Lightning said. They looked over at Greta. "Hey, Greta. Haven't seen you in a while." "It's been too long, Lightning," she said, giving the mare a smile. Night Stalker landed on one of the clouds and looked down at the large mansion on top of the hill. Guards were posted by all the entrances. Even a couple of Pegasi were flying around near the roof. Tapping the button on his helmet, he said, "Thunderlane, report." I've counted 6 guards around the outside of the home, maybe more, but I can't get an accurate count from here. And that'll be fine, Thunderlane. Keep an eye on the skies. Need to know if more Pegasi are hiding around the clouds. Minette, can you make some kind of distraction?
No problem, boss. Working on it now.
She said excitedly over the radio. Captain, I am picking up chatter over a decrypted signal. Seems to be the target is sending a message to some pony out near Hoofington. Amethyst Star, can you block the signal somehow? He asked. I'm working on it. I'm not sure how long I can keep it up, though. All we need is 10 minutes. Can you do that? I'll do my best, Captain. My host looked back at Lightning Dust and Greta. Lightning, head down towards the north side and stay out of sight. I'll go signal you when it's time to go in. Greta, stay here and watch our backs. If something looks like it's going to go wrong, I want you to be our backup. Yes, sir, they both said, Lightning Dust flying off to the north and Greta flying higher to scan the landscape. Night Stalker went back to the radio. Minette, if you're going to do something, do it now. Comet Tail and Phoenix Heart, pick up the guards in the courtyard as soon as Minute acts. The rest of you stand by. I'll be going in when the guards are down. Yes, sir, they all responded. With everything set up, my host was in the air again, flying over the large house. At first, I wasn't sure what would happen. Then, when Night Stalker looked towards the ground near the front of the house, I could see a lone blue mare walking calmly up to the door. 2 of the guards walked up to her and started to have a conversation. I wasn't sure what was going on, or how she was going to distract anything by talking to the guards, when all of a sudden she started to scream and hold her chest, falling to the ground, thrashing. The guards rushed to her and started to hold her down. They looked utterly confused on what was going on. A minute later, more ponies came out of the house to aid the others. Even 2 of the Pegasi. Night Stalker started to chuckle a little. Always the drama queen, aren't you, Minette? Then he looked down the courtyard, where he could see other Pegasus, looking around confused, and 3 more guards on the edge of the courtyard. Take down 2. I'll deal with the 3rd. Lightning, follow me in. Night Stalker said over his radio, and then started to dive. As he rushed towards the ponies in the courtyard, 2 of them fell, blood flying from their heads. My host landed a second later, his wings flipping around and slashing a deep gash in the neck of the 3rd pony. A second later, Lightning Dust standing next to him, and they both turned towards the last pony standing. He had an orange coat and a blue mane. His light blue eyes widened as his 3 guards died. He stammered. The hell's going on here? Night Stalker flipped the blood off of his wing blades and then slowly walked towards him. You tell me, Captain Flash Sentry, why am I here? Night Stalker, what are you doing in my house? He looked around. You killed my guards. This is treason, you know. No, Captain. That's what you've been doing. We've been watching you. You've been sending secret documents to the Stripes, sabotaging missions, giving away locations of bunkers and scouts. All I'm doing is taking care of a problem. It's sad. A pony like you could have done so much good for this country, but instead you decided to help the enemy. Flash Sentry frowned. All I've done is help a race that's been taken advantage of by Equestria. Luna's fucking insane. She should never have been put in charge of this country. The princess has betrayed us when Celestia let the Pawn of the Stars lead us. Yes, it was cute when she let her take up her old role of raising the moon and watching over our dreams. But leading the country? That's what Nightmare Moon wanted all along. Look where that leadership had gotten us. War is not the answer. My host frowned. You've got to be kidding me. How much bullshit do those striped bastards fill your head with? Luna is looking out for us. It's those bastards that want to kill all of pony kind. All over a striped coal contract and the leadership of a particular mare. He smiled. You think my head is full of bullshit? Listen to yourself, Night Stalker. You're nothing but a tool. What do you think will happen to you when the ponies of Equestria find out you killed a captain of the Royal Guard? Funny you should ask. You see, we were never here. It looked like you were killed by zebras. Some group of assassins that got into your home and took down your guards along with you. Too bad you'll go down in history as the poor pony who showed the rest of us what they could do. The country will come together afterwards to help the war effort, all because of your death. The Night Stalker said, his wings unfolding. Before he could move, something materialized out of nowhere and attacked my host. A hoof kicked him in the side, drawing him back a little. Night Stalker jumped aside, barely able to dodge another hoof strike. I could see a zebra looking at Lightning and Night Stalker. He had a short-cut mane that was mostly black, with just a small white stripe along it. He was also standing on his hind legs, his forehooves up in an odd fighting style. I'm amazed that you were able to dodge my attack. There must be some truth to the stories about you, Captain Night Stalker. The zebra said, grinning at him. He looked at Flash Sentry. Leave now. I'll take care of them. Thank you, Zafon. He flew off into the night sky as the zebra looked back at my host. Now, where were we? He won't get far, you striped bastard. My team won't let him. Normally, yes. But my comrades are in the hills around here watching this place. As soon as you attacked, they started moving. Your team will be too busy to deal with one lone Pegasus, Zafon said. My host snarled at him. Then I'll have to kill him myself. Once I take care of you, that is. You can try, but you won't win this one. Let me take care of him, Captain, Lightning Dust said, walking up and putting a wing on my whole shoulder. No, you can't take on a zebra like him, Night Stalker said. Yes, I can. Now, go after that traitor before he gets away. Zafon laughed. Like a mare could take me on. I am the son of a great Caesar. I have trained my entire life to fight. A moment later, Gretel landed next to my host and Lightning Dust. The two of us can take him. Now go. Are you sure? Yeah, go, Greta said, smiling towards the lone zebra. Fine. But make sure you keep him alive. We could use a prisoner like him. I'm sure his father would do a lot to get him back, Night Stalker said. I won't let you get away, follower of the stars, Zafon said, moving to attack. A gem glowed in Night Stalker's armor, and time seemed to slow down as he jumped into the sky. It only lasted for a second, but it was more than enough for him to start flying away. He smiled, then looked back as the Griffin and other Pegasus started to fight the Zebra Prince. You two be safe. Then he hit the button on his helmet again. Team, take down the stripes that are moving in on the house. Then go help Lightning and Greta. Make sure to help keep the zebras that are still fighting alive. He got a response from every member of his team before he flew off into the night sky. It didn't take long for Night Stalker to catch up with the fleeing Flash Sentry as he made his way south. He kept looking over his shoulder as he flew low to the ground. Too bad he wasn't smart enough to look up. Night Stalker moved quietly but quickly over his prey as he got in position. Then he dove at him and started to fire his disintegration rifle at him. Two hit his wings, and he went down hard, crash landing alongside a marsh. Night Stalker landed and walked towards the traitor, his magical energy rifles humming softly. Any last words? Fuck you, Night Stalker, and your damn princess. I give you a chance to say something good before you die, and you waste it on curses. How sad, Night Stalker said. He smiled at Night Stalker and pulled out a talisman. Curse you, Night Stalker. Curse you and all your family for all time. Equestria will lose this war, and even if you somehow survive it, you'll never be happy. The same goes for any pony you love and your descendants. The talisman started to glow as he laughed. Night Stalker just yawned and fired his weapons. The pony screamed as he dropped the talisman and his body turned to ash. Good riddance. Equestria doesn't need scum like you polluting the minds of its citizens. Rot in hell. He walked over and looked at the slightly glowing talisman. It flashed and went dark. crackling down the center. Night Stalker picked it up and looked at it curiously. I wonder what you are. Well, I guess I'll have Manute take a look at it. As for curses, they're just useless words. All I know is that you're dead, and I'm not. He pocketed the talisman, then spoke into his radio. Report. Lightning Dust's voice came over the radio. We were able to capture the prince, but we have a problem. My host tensed up. What's wrong? Greta's injured, but not fatally. Can't say the same for Phoenix Heart. She's hurt pretty bad. She came to help us and took a nasty blow to the chest. Manute's trying to help, but I'm not sure how much good it'll do at this point. I'm on my way. See if Manute can get her to a hospital. Night Stalker took off again, flying back towards his team. Something seemed to echo in the air, back where the pile of ash was. And then there were 9. I jumped as I came out of the memory. How long was I out? The memory was still fresh in my head. What was that voice at the end?
3 hours, maybe longer. I wasn't watching the time. I've been too busy with this stupid thing.
Nexus said, still typing on the keyboard. Thought you would have been done by now, I said, sitting up and looking at the monitors. Streams of data were flying by on the screen as he worked.
I'm done with breaking into the second layer of the protection. I'm trying to keep the program from destroying my terminals.
I looked around the cluttered room and noticed it was getting a little smoky in the room, and hot. You got through the second layer of protection, and why is it still trying to destroy your terminal?
The second layer isn't. There's a third layer, maybe a fourth. Going to encrypt this is impressive. This program is 20 times stronger than the last one, and I thought that one was hard.
He stopped typing.
Ah, shit.
I didn't like the sound of that. What's wrong? He went to unplug my pip-buck, but a voice I knew very well echoed from the terminal. Authorization not recognized. Any further attempts to submit forms into this program will be met with software termination. Was that Auntie's voice? I asked.
I don't know who that is, but I'll show her. The Great Nexus never loses. Usually.
He said as he was going back to the computer.
I'll show this bitch who the real programming expert is around here.
Maybe you shouldn't mess with it anymore? Your terminals look like they're getting a little hot. He typed one more command prompt.
Ha! Success! I'm the master.
For a moment, it looked like everything was going to be okay. Then a picture of Auntie popped up on the screen, waving her hoof back and forth. You didn't say the magic word. Over and over again. Nexus unplugged my pip-buck quickly, pushing me to the ground as he yelled,
Fuck this!
Right as we hit the ground, an explosion went off over us. When that ended, I got up and looked over at where Nexus' terminal used to be. All that was left was a pile of scrap. Damn. Auntie means business when it comes to programs. Nexus looked over the pile of scrap metal and electronics with his mouth slightly open. One eye twitched as he looked over the destruction. Then, tears welled up in his eyes.
My terminals! My games! Why, Celestia? Why do you hate me so?
I watched for a moment as the ghoul started to cry, hugging pieces of his destroyed tech. I had no idea what to do at this point, so I just patted him on the back. It'll be okay, Nexus. Sure you can replace it.
Do you know how long it took me to find the parts I needed to get Zap Apple Chronicles to work properly on a terminal instead of the console it was originally made to work with?
I just shrugged. I don't even know what Zap Apple Chronicles is. He slumped and started to cry again as he looked at his tech.
I knew I should have finished it before I did this.
My pip-buck dinged. Not wanting to deal with the crying ghoul, I looked at it. New files added. Research notes, audio files, pip-buck tags, research on the Mark II, stars progress. I looked over to the one that said research notes for the Mark II and clicked on it. A moment later, a file popped up. If I've been looking more into what makes a pip-buck so special, at first it seemed like a normal pip-buck. The pony I got it from at the trot stand told me how to remove it. I'm not still sure why any pony needs a pip buck that you can't take off. I'm finding it handy now, though, since I'm keeping a lot of files on here that I don't want to fall into the wrong hooves. After some tinkering, I figured out that this thing has a lot of features that you can't use on your standard pip buck. The broadcaster itself is a gem. I'm able to use it to directly keep in contact with the rangers. I can get it to terminals a lot easier, too. Now that I don't have to plug into them directly. There's also a built-in hacking software that seems to be able to push its way past anything I use it on. It's making my job a lot easier while I look into this more, and this old project from the war. The last location I was at had a lot of data that came in handy. I'm not sure it'll help Star, but I have hope. The funny thing is, this pip buck was already loaded with a lot of old Sweetie Belle songs. I'm finding those very nice to listen to while I'm alone out here in the wasteland. When I get back to the bunker, I'm going to play them for Star. She loves that kind of music so much. The last thing I found when I was in this pip buck was used to seal some kind of program or terminal right before the megaspell detonation. After talking with the pony who gave me this, I found out that they can seal programs and terminals so that nothing else can get to them. I know I'm on a mission to find a cure for Star. I'm so tempted to go to the location where the pip buck was last used to seal something before the war ended and find out what it was. Who knows? It could help me on my mission. I'll update later if I find anything else of use. Nothing useful there. I already knew all that from Nexus. I clicked on the audio files. Most of them, first things that came up were music files. A lot of them with SB Test 1 and 2 and so on. Clicking on the first one and seeing it was an early Sweetie Belle song, I turned it off and looked further down the list. Finally, I saw one that caught my eye. They were labeled My Mistakes, and Mom's voice echoed out of my pip buck. Entry log 225. I don't know what to do anymore. It's been hours, and Star still hasn't woken up. I can't believe she did that. This is Senior Scribe Grimoire Spell, and I've done something terrible. Vervain and I went to MAS EBS Tower 45. It's located a few miles outside of Cartwheel. The tower itself works just like the rest of them, but I found information that was in the basement that it held a secret to Falling Shadows. It was the only thing left that I could think to save her. I was wrong. At first, everything was going so well. I even brought Star with me in case I could use the old project the way I figured I could. Then shit went south. There was something protecting the project and it attacked us. I hid Star in a side room when it started to attack, but she got out and got in the way. Something happened, and she started to scream and pass out. She doesn't even look right anymore. Her mane changed color, and so did her coat. I don't know what's going on, but after it attacked her, it disappeared into thin air. I got us out of there as soon as I could, and now we're stuck near Green Mist Valley, not far from the stable Vervain found last year. Stables have better medical facilities than anywhere else in the wasteland, don't they? Maybe I could get myself in, and make them help us. I can't lose my daughter, not after everything I've done to try and save her. I'll talk with Vervain. She's been working undercover in the stable. Maybe she could think of a way that I could get in. I know she's been having trouble getting ponies to trust her. I'm good with memory spells. Sure, I could do something. Entry log 286. This is Senior Scribe Grimoire Spell. It's been 2 months now since we entered Stable 28. Everything is going a lot better than I'd hoped. But whatever happened back in this tower, it seems to be helping Shadowstar. I still find it strange to call her Shadow, but it's much more fitting now. At first, I was worried about her when she woke up. She was having nightmares every night. I couldn't get her to keep calm most of the time, and every time she got too upset, she would give off a blast of magic. It's powerful, too. Something's messing with her horn. I'm just not sure what. I had to go and wipe most of her memories just so she could sleep at night. I'm still working on them. It's a long process to go through and take so many memories out of somebody. I'm still not sure, not really taking them away. If I did, she wouldn't be the same filly that I love. I'm blocking them. One day I'm sure she'll remember what happened to her and what I did. I'm hoping that won't happen until she's older and can handle it. I had to tell her it was trauma from an accident. So far it's working, but for how long I can't be sure. She's not stupid by any means, and she's way too curious for some pony her age. I have a feeling I'm going to regret this in the end. Entry log 321. This is... Fuck, why do I say that every time? No matter. I really fucked up today. The Overmare wanted to see me in her office. When I got there, she started asking me things about where I came from. I tried giving her the normal lies I've been telling everybody else since I came here last year. The problem is she isn't buying it. I'm not sure how, but she knew things about me that no pony else should. Especially any pony in the stable. I got angry and started asking her questions. No matter how much I tried, she wouldn't tell me. And she wanted to know more about why I was in her stable. She even threatened to kick Shadow and I out. I couldn't have that happen. So I used a spell on her that I learned from an old spell book. Not a nice one either. I only meant it to be a warning, not to threaten me. But I've never done a spell like that before. Now the Overmare's in medical, and I don't think she's going to make it. If she doesn't, her daughter will take control of the stable, and that little bitch has had it out for me ever since I first arrived here. If she ever finds out it was me who hurt her mother, I'm not sure what she'll do. It's possible that my days in Stable 28 are numbered, and if so, I'll have to learn as much as I can from research and development. I'll have to tell the Elder about all this, too, I'm sure, but I'm hoping that she won't have me leave just yet. I'm not ready, neither is Shadow. With all the way things are going right now, it'll take years for her to be ready to go back into the wasteland. Entry log 492. Tonight's the night. I've set everything up as best as I can from here. I'll leave this pipbuck down in the catacombs. A few months ago, I found an old alcove that looked like a storage room when Stable Tech was still building the stable. No pony seems to know it's there, and a little magic can help hide it. I think it'll be a good place to keep it. I've also placed spells all over the lower levels of the stable. It doesn't matter what they do. Let's just say it'll help cover my tracks. And when the time is right, they'll hopefully lead Shadow to the pipbuck. No matter what happens to me, she has to get her hooves on it. Once it's on her foreleg, no pony will be able to get it off. I just hope she can do what she needs to be done. If I know my daughter, she'll go looking for me right away if she finds out I'm not dead. It all depends upon what she's told once I'm gone. I hate doing this to her, especially at such a young age. But she needs this place. It's the first place she's been healthy and happy in her whole life. I want her to grow up with friends, and know what it's like to be normal, at least while she can. Honestly, if I did need this pipbuck back a few years, I'd say fuck it and let her live here. But it may not be the perfect place, but it's better than out there. Tonight's my last night in Stable 28. I'm sure it's the last time I'm going to see my daughter. Shadow, if you happen to find this file on the pipbuck, please know that everything I've done up to this point has been for you. I can't explain everything in a simple message. But if I'm still alive when you find this, and you happen to find me, I'll explain everything. I don't expect you to forgive me for leaving you behind. This decision is the hardest one I've ever had to make. I'm sure that you're thinking to yourself, Mom, I wanted you to find me, then why did you leave me a note saying to go to Manhattan? It's because I do, in a way. It's a choice that I hope you made, even though I'm sure you didn't. Pony is a stuck-up place to live, but it's safe and beautiful. I wanted you to have a better option than seeing what has become of Equestria. Since I'm sure you didn't listen to me, then I wish you luck. I don't know what will happen to me once I'm gone, but I hope we'll see each other again. Stay strong, don't doubt yourself, and find good friends. Friends can be the one thing that can save you from the dangers out in the wasteland, and they can be there for you when you're feeling low. Good luck, my little star. Shine brighter than any pony else. Wow. That was a lot to take in. Can't believe she made this before she left 28. It was like she knew every step I'd take when I left. I wish I was as smart as she was. She saw things like no other pony I'd ever met. And she planned ahead to make sure her plans went off without a hitch. Also, I can't believe she was the one who killed the former Overmare. All I remember from back then was that she took ill and passed away early the next morning. Her daughter had indeed become the new Overmare, and she did force Mom to leave in a way. I'm sure the elders saw what was going to happen with the new Overmare and had Mom leave before her cover was blown. Only problem was that Mom was supposed to take me along with her and the Mark II. She didn't. She left it for me, fine, so I could get back to her one day. From what I could tell, there still wasn't much on here that seemed important. Maybe it was something to do with her research notes. When I clicked that file, everything that came up made no sense to me. It was all notes on some old project that Mom had been looking into. But, with all the big technical words involved, I gave up halfway through. So, I went into my Pip-Buck tags. Most of them had names of different ponies in Stable 28. But the last two caught my eye. Tag for Vervain, tag for Grimoire Spell. I looked at the last one and cursed. This time I had Pip-Buck tag for Mom's Pip-Buck. If I would have known that before, it would have made finding her so much easier. I sighed and clicked on Mom's tag, and an odd message popped up. Tag location found. Retrieving data on location. Data found. Last recorded coordinates marked on Pip-Buck. What does that mean? I asked. Finally, seeming to be able to pull himself away from his sorrow, Nexus replied, "What are you talking about?" I found the tag from my mom's Pip-Buck, and it gave me a message. I showed him my screen. The Mark II can pull up data on a Pip-Buck's tag, even at a great distance. If it doesn't show you where that pony is, it gives you a message like that. It means the Pip-Buck is trying to locate, hasn't moved in a long time. Either your mom died in the past few months, or she took her Pip-Buck off and tossed it. I went over to the map and looked at where it was showing the last location. I'm sure she's not dead. She must have taken her old one off, like you said. I'm not sure why she'd do that, though. Where's this at? The tag was showing me a location northeast of New Pegasus. Further than I'd gone during my few weeks of travel. It was even further north in Stable 9. I haven't gone up that way in a long-ass time. But if I remember right, that location isn't far from the old military base. Some ponies from a stable moved into it a long time ago, and now they have their hooves on all the leftover missiles and bombs left there when the place was abandoned. They call themselves the Annihilators, for a good reason. They don't let any outsider near the settlement. They blow up any pony they see as an outsider. Is that where Trotston is? No. They aren't the Stable 9 ponies. Trotston's a little more southeast of there. The tag looks like it's between the two settlements, Nexus said. I'll have to look into it when I have time. If it hasn't moved for a while, sure waiting a few days won't make a difference, I said, going back and looking at the other tag. Vervain. Who was she, and what did she have to do with Mom? You mentioned her a few times, but I know I've never met anyone in the stable with that name. Was she hiding in the stable, and I didn't even know who it was? Was it Auntie? No, Mom said Vervain was a Steel Ranger. Auntie's tough, but not Steel Ranger tough. Had to be one of the other ponies Mom was friends with in the stable. I clicked the tag, and sure enough, it came up right at Stable 28. So, Vervain was still in the stable. Only I could go back and find her. Be able to tell me more about Mom. Since I can't go back, maybe I'll visit the Steel Rangers and talk with Elbert Slice about it. Maybe she has a way of getting in contact with this mysterious Steel Ranger who was hiding from my old stable. I have a lot to think about, Nexus. Thanks again for helping me get as much out of the Pip-Buck. And I'm sorry about what happened to your terminals. He sighed and shook his head. It wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything to them. It's my own ego that did it. It'll suck a plate of dicks, but I'll be able to replace everything over time. Just, even though it put a hold on what I can do for this place, I'll have to head back to New Pegasus and see if Match and Tariff have replacement parts. I gave him a smile and went to leave when I remembered something I meant to ask him before. Hey, Nexus? What was so important about Captain Nightstalker? A bit of anger came over his features as he spoke. Nightstalker's a snake. During the war, he was known to be one of Luna's personal guards. In reality, he was running a stealth group of assassinations for the government. He was hoof-picked by Celestia and Luna for the job. Not much is known about him from before the war. Apart from that, he was orphaned when he was very young and grew up in Griffinstone. When he was older, he was forced to move back to Equestria and placed with a foster family. The weird thing, though, is that a young griffin named Greta was with him. Those two were inseparable for most of their young lives.
Greta moved back to Griffinstone when they were older, but came back when the war broke out to fight alongside her best friend. Night Stalker fought a few years before making his way up to the ranks slowly. Never really showed much promise until a large battle at Manhattan. He was working with the Shadow Bolts then. He led a fight against a dragon and a few high-ranking zebras. He and Greta were the only ones who survived that raid, only because Night Stalker held back during the attack and used the night sky to hide his approach with Greta. It's what got him his name, Night Stalker. Nobody remembers what his old name was. He was no one until he became Night Stalker. From what I could see in the orbs I've seen of him, he doesn't much care about being a leader of a team, but he was very good at it. He was. It was a quality that Celestia saw in him, and so did Luna. They both knew that it was a perfect job for him. They even left the recruitment of his team up to him. They were the only ponies in his life that he cared about, too. Only ones who meant more to his team was his little sister, the princesses, and Greta. He would have given his own life for them, and he almost did a couple of times.
Nexus said. What I can't figure out is why you got a dark look on your face when I asked about him. I mean, sure, he looked like he was a dick and dangerous, but what does that have to do with you? And how do you know so much about him? He sighed again.
He was the pony who was hunting me down when the war ended. He seemed to think that I knew some information about something he was looking for. When Night Stalker wants something, he always gets it. And the pony who knows that information always seems to turn up dead. I didn't want to end up like that, so I ran. I learned as much as I could about him over the next couple years. Even after the war ended, he did some things that were unforgivable.
Like what?
The cloud cover, for one. That was his idea. Don't know why he wanted the Pegasi to be cut off from the rest of us, but he did. Also, he's the one who started the Dashite program, if my intel is to be believed.
Why would he do something like that?
No idea. All this is just what I've been told. I've never found out much about him after the cloud cover went up. After all I know is that he's up and vanished, one day 40 years after the end. No pony knows what happened to him after that.
I sighed and face-hoofed. Why is everything a goddess damn mystery in the wasteland?
Wish I could tell you. Anyway, why don't you head out? I got a lot of cleaning to do.
Good idea. I should go check with Dr. Cottage and see how Wingnut's doing, I said as I turned to leave.
Oh yeah. I forgot with everything that was going on. You were in the orb, your Griffin friend stopped by to tell me that your friend was awake? You mean you're just not telling me that now? I exclaimed. Hey, I was busy at the time. Slipped my mind. Lucky you helped me, or I'd slap you for forgetting to tell me something like that, I said in a huff before running out the door. You're welcome, he shouted after me as I ran down the hall.
It didn't take long for me to reach the double doors to the medical wing of the resort. I pushed the door open and almost ran into Dr. Cottage.
What's the big deal?
He asked me. If you're trying to challenge me to a race, I'm going to have to decline, seeing as how it's a little unfair. See, I have this bum leg. No, I heard Wingnut was awake and wanted to check on him. He rolled his eyes. Of course you want to check on the kid. No pony ever comes to see how I'm doing. Well, you're kind of a dick, so I'm not surprised. Dick or no, maybe I'd like company now and then. A companion to enjoy drug-fueled shenanigans with, he said, then smiled, then popped one of his pills into his mouth. Just kidding, I hate ponies. Plus, these little guys are all mine. So, can I check on Wingnut? I don't know, can you? Hate you? Oh, no. An angry midget hates me. I'm so sad now, he said sarcastically. I face-hoofed, then asked as nice as I could, Can I please see my friend? If so, I'll let you, I don't know, study why I'm so short, I guess? He smiled. Deal. Now remember, it's a promise. Your friend's in the other room. He's up and doing a lot better. Can't fix his face, though. I walked past him and into the large room. There was a lot of different things lying around the room. Most of it was medical equipment. 21 was sitting at a desk, looking over some files. She smiled when I walked in and waved at me before going back to work. I saw a door behind her, walked over to it, and I found it led to a smaller room with a couple gurneys in it. The one furthest back had Wingnut on it, and next to him was a zebra stallion, also wearing a lab coat like 21. He looked up as I walked in. He was an odd-looking zebra, but I wasn't one to judge. He looked more like the opposite of the zebra colt I had met. His coat was more on the black side, and his stripes were white. Kind of like the prince I saw in Night Stalker's memory. I couldn't see if he had a... Wait, what was it called on a zebra again? Oh yeah, a glyph mark? His lab coat was covering it. Ah, I take it you must be Shadowstar. Wingnut's been talking about you a lot since you last woke up. I'm Dr. Zemir. Pleasure to meet you. He said in the same accent as the zebra colt had. Same here. How's Wingnut doing? Wingnut spoke up in a cheery voice.
Zemir told me that I was a brave colt for jumping in to save my friends.
Zemir turned to look at Wingnut and added, I also told you how stupid and reckless it was. He rolled his eyes.
Yeah, I know. I won't do it again either. It's not fun being stuck in a hospital bed.
He seems to be getting back to his normal self, I said, walking over to sit next to Wingnut. He's been like this all morning. It's nice to see a young pony like him with such a free spirit. He responded well to the antifungal we gave him. He's also a strong colt. I have to agree with you on that one. When can he leave? He can go any time. I just finished his last checkup, and he's doing much better, and there are no signs of the infection anymore, Zemir said.
Awesome! I can finally get out of this stupid bed. I feel like I've been sleeping for days.
Wingnut said, jumping to his hooves. I took hold of him and pulled him into a tight hug. I'm glad you're doing better. Had me worried. He pulled away and jumped to the ground.
Ew. Why are you always so girly, Shadow?
Maybe because I'm a girl?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to act all girly. I'm fine now, so stop worrying so much.
If you say so, Squirt. By the way, have you seen Aura and Stardust yet? Yeah. Your griffin friend said that she was going to look around and talk with some of the other ponies who live in the lodge. The Pegasus said he wanted to meet the new Dashite. He should be back any time now, Zemir said. Oh yeah, you should talk to him too. The Queen wanted me to talk to him about something. He should be back soon. He'll be coming in the main gate. Good to know. We should head that way to meet him, I said, heading back towards the door. Dr. Cottage blocked my path. You can't go anywhere. You promised. I did, but I never said when you could. He looked confused for a moment and smiled. Good one. That's what I get for making deals so quickly. Fine. On your way. But remember, you owe me one examination. If I don't get it, you won't get a lollipop that may or may not be stepped on and or irradiated. I chuckled and walked past him. I know, and I'll make sure to get it. Another time. Wingnut and I went to leave. As I did, and I heard Dr. Cottage say to Zemir, My leg hurts. When are you going to give me more of those zebra pills? I just gave you 20 last night. Duh, and they're gone. I need more. I walked faster and left the clinic behind before the two could break out in an argument. I dealt with enough of that crap from Stardust and Aura. When we reached the courtyard, I saw a Pegasus just coming through the front gate. He had a pale blue coat and a black mane with yellow eyes, and he was muscular. I also noticed that Stardust was just outside the door. He watched as the other Pegasus walked in. My friend's eyes were wide open, as if he'd seen a ghost. He was trembling as he looked on at the other Pegasus, and a small whisper came from him. Can't be.
Hey, Stardust, you okay?
Wingnut asked, walking over to the older buck. The other Pegasus saw my friend and started to walk over. He walked right up to Stardust and yelled, Cadet! Where's your power armor? I don't think I went through so much trouble to make sure you get a set before you got away. And here you are wandering around in the open, buck-ass fucking nude! Wow, he's loud. And had the same kind of commanding voice that Night Stalker did. Stardust was taken aback for a moment. Then he saluted the older Pegasus and responded, "I had to leave it behind, sir." "Leave it behind? Do you know how much time and effort goes into one of those suits?" "Sir, no, sir." Stardust responded, then he put his hoof down and added, "Wait a second. Why am I answering anything you have to say to me? You're not my drill sergeant anymore. Why the fuck are you here?" "Don't talk back to me, cadet. I asked you a question. I expect you to answer me." Stardust's eyes narrowed, and he got that look he always got when he's about to shoot something. Then slowly said, "Why the fuck are you here, doorstop? Are you here because you want to bring me back to the stable, or are you here to kill me like every other Enclave slave I've run into since I escaped?" The other Pegasus started to chuckle. Then it turned into a deep laugh. "Kill you? Why the hell would I want to kill you? Who do you think helped you get out?" Stardust blinked. "Wait, I thought Shortcake did that." "Shortcake? That filly was still asleep when you broke out. She had no idea you even left till the next morning. When I found out what happened, I went in and killed the 2 guards, stole the power armor from you 2. Then, opened the cell door. It's too bad Hailstorm didn't make it. He was a good soldier." "Don't talk about him. You don't have the right," Stardust started to say. Doorstop interrupted him. "I can talk about him if I want to. You 2 meant the world to me while you were growing up. I wanted to make sure you both made it out. If I could have done more, I would have." It always seemed like he was yelling. Stardust looked away, then asked, "Why are you here?" Doorstop sighed and pulled off the armor he was wearing, showing his flanks, and the red, inflamed marks of a Dashite. "They figured out I helped you get away. They wanted to kill me for what happened, but since I have so many years of faithful service to the Enclave, this is my punishment. I heard about this place from an old pony down south. Thought I'd be a good place to hole up for a while." Stardust took a step back and looked at the angry red mark for a long moment. "How did they find you out?" "No idea. I tried to figure that out when I first accused me of it. Doesn't matter now, cadet. What does matter is that you're safe and sound. And, better yet, not insane." I walked closer to him and asked, "Are you the new Dashite around here?" He looked over at me. "Who's this little gal?" "Oh, Sergeant Doorstop. This is Shadowstar. She's a friend of mine. She was sent here to find the new Dashite, which I assume is you," Stardust said. "Shadowstar, huh? Do you by chance know an old buck named Box Tape?" Doorstop asked. My eyes widened. "Yeah, I do. He's the buck I work for. How do you know him?" The older buck laughed loudly. "I met him when I went through Cartwheel looking for this little pisshead. He told me he was traveling with a mare named Shadowstar. I've been hearing a lot about you on the radio. Good to see that there's still a good fighter out here. I can't believe you were able to kill a member of the Sins." "How'd you hear about that?" "From the DJ pony," he said, lifting his legs and showing off a pit buck. It was beaten up, but still pretty intact, seemed to work. "I like to record some of his stuff to listen to now and then. It's always nice to listen to some of the music of Sweetie Belle." He fiddled with his pit buck when the energetic voice of DJ Pony came in. "Hello, Wasteland! You know what time it is, right? That's right, it's time for the news. Now, if you haven't heard yet about the huge bounty on security out in the hoof, you soon will. Now, I told you all before that it may seem like a quick way to make some caps than you ever thought about in your life. But remember, this is the security mare who cleared out the Manhattan Highway. You shouldn't be going after someone like that. Just remember, if you think it seems too good to be true, then it probably is. Now, I've got some more news from out west. To most of you who live out here in the east, you may not have heard about the special ops unit of the Enclave known as the 7 Sins of Equinity. That's because, out there, the Enclave keep themselves, for the most part, to themselves. Out in New Pegasus, they have a much bigger role in things going on in the Wasteland. If that seems possible. I mean, come on, those guys are everywhere. The Seven Sins of Equinity, or the Sins for short, are a team of criminals that serve the Enclave and hunt down ponies that displease the Enclave in any way. Every member of the Sins is extremely deadly, extremely hard to kill. That is, unless you're the courier mare. You heard me ride mares and gentle colts. The courier mare herself was able to take down one of the Sins. A fat, hideous monster that went by the codename Gluttony. After he snagged her from the strip and flew her out past city limits, there was a small fight between the courier mare and her friends with him. In the end, they were the ones still standing. Now I know what you're all thinking. DJ Pony, why should we care about what the courier mare did to one of the Sins while they're on the way out there? Well, you see, children, that's easy. Because she's dealt a serious blow against the Enclave from Stardust. That's good for us, that she was able to show those ponies in the clouds that they can't just do whatever the hell they want. But sadly, this may also spell trouble for the courier mare. From what I've been hearing, they're now working with another Pegasus settlement, called Nimbus, to hunt down our heroine of the West. There's been sightings of power-armored Pegasi from New Pegasus, and even more have showed up near Appleton and the Halo 1 plant. So, if you're listening to me, courier mare, keep up the good fight, but stay safe. Western Equestria needs a pony like you. That's all for now, my little kitties. So now, let's get back to the music. When did this air? I asked. A couple hours ago. I was headed back listening to the radio when it came on. Didn't think I'd run into you here, though. Why are you here? He asked. The queen who leads the gang that runs Freedom wanted me to find you and see if you'd be willing to meet with her. I got a few questions for you. I want to see if you had any info that could help her with keeping her town safe. In the short time I've been out here, I've heard stories about the Queen's gang. Most of them don't put her in a good light. Why would I go to New Pegasus to help a gang of ponies like them? He asked in his loud voice. Sergeant Doorstop, I'm friends with the Queen. She's a good pony. She's tough, and a lot of things have been said about her. Most of them aren't true, and the ones that are have been exaggerated. She helped me when I first came to town, and when I started getting hunted by the Sins. You can trust her, Stardust said. He took a moment before finally answering. Well, if you trust her, then at least I'll think about it. I can't leave here just yet. I'm helping Violet with things around here. I can't just up and leave her high and dry, now can I? I looked around the summit, then back at him. What have you been doing for the Alicorns? I've been running patrols around here, keeping an eye on things. I've also been training some of the ponies here how to fight. That doctor is a bit of a wuss, though. Keeps complaining about leg pain, and complains even more when I tell him to quit being a wussy and walk it off. Doorstop said with a smile, much like Stardust's. Stardust got an ill look on his face. Those poor ponies. He looked over at my friend and yelled, No one's asking you, cadet! My tactics may be odd, but that's how good you turned out. Stardust opened his mouth like he was going to say something. Then he closed it, looking thoughtfully for a second, and said, You've got a point there. Of course I do. I'm the Sarge. Now let's get back to what we were talking about. All I was told was to ask you to meet with the Queen. I hope you will. You've been a good pony to me, and I think you should at least give her a chance, I said. Before I could say more, Aura landed next to me. She looked a little winded and panicked. Shadow, it's about time I found you. Where have you been? I was meeting with Nexus for the past few hours. What happened? Doorstop looked over at the Griffin and frowned. What the fuck is this thing doing here? I looked at him and said, Don't start. I know what Shadow or Stardust is like with Griffins. I'm not going to let you start up with her. This is Aura Bloodtalon. She's my bodyguard and friend. He growled and looked away. I don't care for Griffins much, but you're right. I can't judge a book by its cover. Aura interrupted. Yeah, we get it. You don't like Griffins, whoever you are. He looked back to me. Listen, Shadow. We have to leave. Now. I frowned. Why? I was flying around checking out the area, and I saw a large team of Pegasi heading this way. They're only a few minutes out,
I'd guess they're after you or Stardust. Whichever it is, we can't stay here, she said quickly.
Wingnut broke into the conversation.
I'm doing better now. I'm okay to leave, I think. At least, that's what the zebra doctor told me. There's no time to argue. You hired me to protect you, Shadow. That's what I'm gonna do. We need to get Silver and leave before they get here,
Aura said. I looked back at Stardust and Wingnut. Why are they coming here? Between us, being here, a team of Alicorns and Dashites, I'm sure it's nothing. Stardust replied sarcastically. I looked at Aura. How long till they're here?
I told you, not long. Got a couple dozen Pegasi and a few ground troops, too.
We can't just run away and leave this place unprotected. If they're after us, then we have to stand our ground and face this. Plus, I don't think there's a way we could get out of here safely. You two can't fly all of us out of here. Aura spoke up.
Wait a sec. Are you telling me you're willing to fight this time instead of running away?
I smiled. I think I am. But we should warn Violet about what's coming. We need to make sure the ponies who can't fight get out of here safely.
Normally, I'd say that's a stupid plan. But I like the idea of taking it to the Zonclave assholes,
Aura said, pulling out her spear.
I'll go find Velvet. The rest of you, do what you can to warn the ponies.
There was a flash of light, and Violet appeared. I heard what happened already. The ponies here will be safe. She looked down at me. Shadow Star, will your friends and you be able to help me keep my home safe? They're after me, not you. We should meet them outside the summit. That way, no pony will get hurt, I replied. She smiled at me. I made this place a safe haven for ponies all over the wasteland to come to. What kind of host would I be if I made you leave when real danger is coming?
She has a point, Shadow. With the numbers I saw coming this way, we can use all the help we can get,
Aura said. I lowered my head. Fine. What do you plan on doing when they actually get here any moment? The Alicorn grinned. They won't be able to enter my home. Thanks to Nexus, we'll be safe. What do you mean? I asked.
She means that I've been working my tail off setting up proper defenses for Frosty Summit,
Nexus said, walking up behind her, followed closely by Silver and Laserlight. Silver, what are you doing out here? I asked, looking at my mare friend. She was carrying a large box in her magic. She smiled at me and set the box down in front of me. I told you I had a surprise for you. I only just finished it. I hope that you like it. I looked down at the large box and opened it. Inside was a new set of armor. I pulled it out and looked at it. It started out much like my old duster, only this one looked newer and stronger than the one box tape had given me. On the back of it had stitched into it Equestrian Express, like my old duster did. This new duster had armor on the shoulders to better protect my upper body from attacks when I fought against Windthrasher. On the right shoulder had the number 28, was painted on it. On the other was my own cutie mark. Along with the duster was a new set of barding. It had thin metal plates attached to the chest and leather straps running down the front and back, with armor to protect my hind legs. The metal plate came up to the collar to help protect my neck, and there was a spot on one side to put Dreamwalker. The last thing in the box was a helmet and mask with goggles attached to it. It reminded me a lot of the one that Night Stalker had worn in the first memory orb I'd seen of him. Only this helmet had a place for my horn to poke out so I didn't look so bug-eyed. I looked at her in awe. You made this for me? She kissed me and said, I want to make sure you're safe when you're out there doing what you do best. I had to use pieces of your old duster for the stitching, and most of what was made from the armor of the Eleanor veteran rangers use. It took me a while to duplicate the design, and I improved it a lot. It's stronger and lighter. It's a heavier duster than yours was, but it's not as bad as it could have been. The armor should protect you from anything shy of armor-piercing rounds. I hugged her tight. Thank you so much, Silver. I have to ask, why the helmet? Trust me, when it stops a bullet, you'll thank me, she said with a smile. Also, the goggles will work with your pip-buck. It'll interface perfectly with it, so you can use it to activate a light filtering spell that's built into them, and the mask works both as a gas mask and a rebreather. Stardust walked over and looked at my new armor. Damn, Silver, you thought of everything.
Like I said, I wanted to make sure she stayed safe. This was the best way I could think of. Cool. You make me one?
Wingnut asked, looking at the armor. She smiled down at the colt.
Maybe one day. Now, should we do something about the ponies who are on their way?
Violet nodded, then looked at Nexus.
Nexus, what do we need to do? It's simple. Have your greens go over to the 2 pylons I installed, then have them do their statue thing, and I'll activate the system. If everything goes right, we won't even have to fight them.
Violet's eyes glowed for a moment. Then the 2 green alicorns walked over to the 2 metal rods connecting to wires that spread out towards the walls. They both sat, and their horns glowed. Nexus pulled out something and pressed a button. The rods glowed, and the magic around the green alicorn's horns wrapped around them. As they did this, I took the time to change into my new barding and duster. When I finished putting my helmet and mask on, it was a little snug, and it felt weird to breathe through the mask, but it was still comfortable. It was right then they were finishing. I could see something coming down the road. A lot of somethings. Pegasi were flying towards us, followed by ground troops. I looked back at the others and said, I think we should hurry up. We're almost here. My voice sounded a little different. Kinda like when the other ponies I knew, who wore power armor. Nexus smiled.
Don't worry, they won't get in.
Then he looked back at Velvet.
Have them activate the shield.
Violet's eyes glowed again. Then magic erupted from their horns and shot out to the rods along the wires, towards the wall. A green light started to glow from different points in the wall where the wires met. A moment later, a large alicorn shield went up around the border. It flew up towards the sky and connected, trapping us inside a large green bubble. A couple of Pegasi who were flying ahead of the rest crashed into the shield, then fell to the ground. The rest came to a halt outside the gate, glaring at us from just outside the newly erected shield. Violet smiled.
That worked rather nice, Nexus.
He laughed, then whooped.
I knew I could do it. Take that, you Enclave bastards.
Huh. I guess we don't have to worry about them at all. So, is this what you were working on over here?
Yeah. It took a little while to figure out how to harness the green's power to make it a large enough shield to protect Summit itself. I had a couple other ideas I wanted to try out, but they'll have to wait.
Laserlight chuckled. Shit. So all the time fooling around with them wasn't a waste.
Oh, shut up, Laser,
he said, glaring at her. She just laughed harder and holstered her laser rifle. I noticed a Pegasus in power armor was standing right by the shield. It was none other than Sergeant Winterfrost. He projected his voice, saying loudly, "Abominations known as alicorns! Give us the courier mare and her friends!" Violet looked over at him and said in a booming voice, "This town is a safe haven for ponies. We are not betraying them to the likes of you." Alicorn, her and her friends are the enemies of the Grand Pegasus Enclave. Give them to us and we will not destroy your little town, Winterfrost said. Violet started to laugh. From where I'm standing, Pegasus, I don't think you're in a good place to make threats. Nothing can get through an alicorn's shield. This is your last warning. We've left your settlement alone for years now. We can keep doing so as long as you do what we ask. I will do no such thing. Now be gone before you anger me! As she spoke, magic enveloped her horn. The alicorn amulet around her neck pulsed red. If that's the way you want to do this, then fine. He turned and said something to some pony behind them. Take it down. Another pony I knew, kind of, stepped around him. It was the mare from the bramble, who kept her face hidden before. She looked at him and said, You do not give me orders, Sergeant. Remember your place. Just take this fucking thing down. We don't have time to argue about rank right now, he said. I walked closer and yelled, Who the fuck are you? She looked at me. Oh, look, if it isn't the courier mare herself. I'm surprised you escaped the bramble like you did. Good idea using the hellhound. This time you won't escape me or my friends. If you give me that Mark II, though, I might be able to keep them from killing every pony here. No way. I'm not giving this to you or any pony. Why do you want it so bad? That's Enclave business, Winterfrost said. Quiet, Sergeant, the hooded mare said, then looked back at me. I really wasn't in the mood to do this. But you left me no choice, Courier Mare. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. As she spoke, blue light glowed from under the hood, and magic runes showed up in front of the barrier and on the ground. Then she started to chant in what sounded like Zebra, just like Moose had when he called out Morningstar. Violet cursed, then her own horn glowed, but before she could do much, the two green Alicorns started to scream. It was a loud pop, followed by a boom as magic backfired and threw the greens away from the rods. The shield around the town scattered with a sound of breaking glass. To my horror, the device Nexus had set up to the town went down, and it didn't take more than one unicorn to do it. Violet screamed as she looked back at her Alicorns. No. Please, no! The hooded unicorn started to laugh in an altered voice. It was a smart idea to use the greens to protect this place. If it was any other pony you had to deal with, you would have worked. Sadly, I'm not a normal unicorn. Nexus was still looking all over his destroyed project. Don't understand. Should have worked. How'd you have even known what I was using? The unicorn laughed again. We're the Enclave. We know everything. Violet screamed. You killed my children! You'll pay for that! I was shaking with rage as I looked at the Enclave soldier, who were about to take us on. They killed two of the Alicorns without even lifting a single weapon. I cursed and pulled Dreamwalker out of its holster. You're gonna pay for what you did here. What are the goddesses that'll kill every last one of you? Yeah, same goes for us, Aura said, pulling back her spear. She started to laugh again. It's cute how you think you can take us on. Most of the ponies here don't even know how to fight, and the ones that do don't stand a chance against us. But I'll make you the offer one more time. Come with us, and the rest will live. No. I'm not doing anything you want. I'm so sick of the bullshit you Enclave assholes keep pulling. I hit Sats and fired a few shots towards the mare. She teleported away before my round could hit her. Instead, the bullet flew through a pony who was standing behind her, killing him instantly. She reappeared a few feet away. Fine. Have it your way. She turned towards the other Pegasus. She was gray like Stardust, and even had the same odd coloring scheme on her wings. Only instead of blue on the tips of her feathers, they were pink. Her mane matched them, and her eyes were dark blue. Second Lieutenant Stolzis? Kill every last pony in this shithole. Yes, ma'am, the Pegasus said, the two laser rifles on our battle saddle glowing. Laserlight said, Shadow, I hope you're ready for this. We're in for a bad fight. Oh, I've been ready for a long time now. Let's end this. The Pegasus, called Solstice, smiled towards me. I'll take the Courier Mare. The rest of you kill every pony else. Don't leave a single mare, colt, or filly alive. Footnote. Level up. New perk added. Tres la femme. You have become accustomed to conversing with ponies of the same sex. You now do 10% more damage to mares in battle, and have opened up unique dialogue as well, making it easier to persuade mares into doing your will.